Hello, welcome to Congressman McCall's Virtual Academy Day. It's unfortunate that we can't meet in person this year, but I think you're going to get some good information about how to have a good file for any of the academies in the presentation I'm about to give. I'm also going to answer some questions that I typically hear at an Academy Day. My name is Colonel Mark Coplen, U.S. Army, retired. I'm a 1988 graduate of West Point, and I've been a local field force officer since 2002. So I've got a lot of experience helping people and building strong files for their academy process. All right, so obviously presentations are something you get a lot of these days in school. I think it's a pretty good way to convey this information. First question you need to ask yourself is, why do you want to go to a service academy? The four reasons I have listed here are consistently pretty strong ones, and they're all good reasons. You want to serve your country, you want to be an officer, a leader, you want to work on your leadership skills. You also want to get a good education, and you also want to challenge yourself. Well, you can believe me that at any of the service academies, you're going to really challenge yourself on a daily basis. About the only advice I'll give you here is the reason not to attend the service academy is because your parents want you to go. If that's the reason you're pursuing this opportunity, I would highly encourage you to have that very difficult conversation with your parents and say, hey, this is not for me, because the majority of the people who go to the academy because their parents want them to be there don't even last to the end of the first semester. And that just sets you further behind on your eventual path of getting a college degree. Your file has a couple important areas. Your academics, obviously probably the most important. You need to have good GPA, good class standing. And oh, by the way, we understand that not all schools do class ranking. That's not going to hurt you. We also do super scoring for your ACT or SAT. If you're not familiar with what super scoring is, think of it as if I took the SAT 2 times and I did really good on the math 1 time and really good on the verbal the next time, then those 2 scores would be combined for a super score. So it's to your advantage to take these tests a couple times. I'm not telling you to go out there and take them 5 times, but take them more than once so that you get a score that you're comfortable with. And also those preparatory classes for how to take these tests can help you significantly in your overall performance. Leadership is a very important role for any of the academies. The main ways that these are measured are things that you do that put you in a leadership position. And that can be on an athletic field or otherwise. So if you're a team captain, if you're a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer of a school organization, or if you do something in your church organization or other civic organization, that all points to leadership. I frequently see people that are members of, say, 10 clubs. That doesn't help you. It's very easy to be a member of a club. You sign your name on a piece of paper and you show up to meetings. If you're going to just do that in a club, I'd say drop it. The most important thing is that you're out there in 2 or 3 organizations where you're showing your leadership capabilities. As far as medical and physical, those are the least important part of your file, but they still have to be something that you meet the minimum standard. Obviously, there's a physical exam that you have to take once your file gets to a certain process, and then there's a candidate fitness assessment. It's the same assessment for all 5 academies. It's an event that you can significantly improve your scores if you practice. Primarily pull-ups and the basketball throw are the 2 things that most people are able to increase their score significantly. So I'd encourage you to go out there and practice, especially the basketball throw, because it's a very unnatural act, throwing a basketball from your knees in an overhand fashion. So it's very beneficial to practice that well before you take the test. As far as the general process, you have a file with the academies that you're interested in. And by the way, I would encourage you to apply to any academy that you're interested in. So most people apply to at least 1 or at least 2 and typically 3 of the different academies. Honestly, my first choice was Air Force Academy because I wanted to be a pilot. Well, I didn't get into Air Force Academy, but I did get into West Point and I still became a pilot. As far as the other process you have to do is the nomination aspect. So you have to be accepted by the academy, and you also have to have a nomination. There's a couple of ways you can get that nomination. You can get that nomination from either of your state senators, your congressman, or the vice president. Obviously here with Congressman McCall, that's your local nomination source and the one where you have the least competition. Obviously for the state senators and the vice president, there's a lot of people that are applying for those nominations. You should still apply to those, but the congressman is your best chance. There's another category that not many people are eligible for, which is if one of your parents was a career military person. Be aggressive about completing your file. Think about it from your own perspective. If you had two people that were interested in a job, the one who is quicker about getting everything submitted is going to be the one that's looked upon a little more favorably. So it's not in your benefit to procrastinate on getting things completed. Ensuring your file shows everything you do. There's a really good example here. If you're holding down a job where you're working 10, 20 hours a week and you're still maintaining a good GPA, that's important. That's relevant. That shows us that you can do multiple things at a time and still maintain a good GPA. Now, I am not telling you to go out there and get a job, because I realize a lot of you are very overscheduled as it is with academics and athletics. But if you have time or mid-season where you're finding yourself going, hey, what can I do to make myself even look better? That is something you can do to go out and get a job where you're doing something else. Ensure your file shows everything you do is just basically making sure that everything you do other than sitting on your butt playing video games is reflected in your file. By the way, your deadline to file with Congressman McCall's office this year is November 6th. So the sooner, just like with the academies, the sooner you get everything submitted, the better. Have a backup plan. The academies, all of them, are extremely competitive. So there's no shame in not making that final bar of getting admission. If you really desire to be an officer, there's a lot of other ways to do that. The most common is obviously becoming an ROTC cadet at a nearby university or the university of your choice where they have a program. So you should seriously consider that if your goal is to become an officer. Another question I get is my own personal experience. Would I do it again? Did I like what I did? The academy is any of the academies are a grueling process. It's 4 very tough years. I went to a college prep high school, and I can honestly say that in the first 6 months of West Point, I spent more time studying than in the whole 4 years of high school. So it is a grueling experience, but you're going to make some friends that will last a lifetime. The leadership experience you get from almost day one, you're going to start be put in leadership environments where you have to lead a small group. And of course, as you go through the 4 years, that continues to get bigger and bigger. Once you graduate, you're immediately in a leadership position when you're a second lieutenant and a platoon leader. And I can tell you, by the time I was in my mid-20s, I had more leadership experience of bigger organizations than most of my high school peers have to this day, 30 plus years later. I personally got to fly helicopters, a lot of fun. There's a lot of great jobs in the military. So there's multiple opportunities for great experiences in any of the services. The other thing, as far as the leadership experience you get, sooner or later, everybody retires from the military, be it if you get out after 5 years or if you do 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years. Sooner or later, you're going to have a role in the civilian world. And the experience you get from not only the 4 years of the service academy, but your time in the military is going to give you a huge leg up on your peer group. I would encourage you to reach out to your local representative for any of the academies that you're interested in. Every area has an academy representative for the different academies, and the best thing they can do for you is they have access to your online file. So they can look at your file and tell you where you're deficient, where you're doing great, and let you know if everything has been completed. The most common thing I help candidates with is being able to tell them if all of their teacher recommendations have been submitted, because let's face it, sometimes your teachers can't be as reliable as you would like them to be, and get those submitted on a timely fashion. So that pretty much concludes what I've got today. If you have any questions, my email address is markcoplen, MarkCoplen @gmail.com. Have a great day.